You have got to see this. I hope you have not seen Morning Joe. Anytime they have Donny Deutsh on, you know this shit is about to get off the rails.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
To preface it like this, Donny Deutsh goes on Morning Joe. He is the featured guest, and I don't understand why they keep bringing him on. I don't know who he's there to pander to, but this entire segment is just pure.
Whenever I see Donny Deutsh, I always wonder who their daddy is. You know what I mean? Like where their
you don't know who Donny Deutsh? You don't know where his money come from, right? You know that's where his money come from.
What?
His daddy made the millions. His daddy died and left him.
Of course. You didn't
know that? I thought you knew that. Yeah,
I was about to say.
He comes from. That is all where he has nothing else to say about him. That's it. His dad had a $1 million advertising company. His daddy died and left him the business, and he sold it. And that's how he got his money.
God, bro, you could not make my point better.
That's it.
Because I actually did not know that. Because the point I was making is that if you guys wonder how Barry Weiss and all these people get these media jobs, it's connected to generational wealth. Their dad knew someone. Then they're like, let's bring the son on. Let's get their son a job. And all of a sudden, they're known as a commentator. And that's exactly what Donny Deutsh. I need to look more into this. I'll guarantee you that's how Donny Deutsh.
You're gonna want to do an episode on him. It's gonna be so funny to you.
Oh, I had no idea about any of this. But anyway, let's continue. I don't want to hijack the segment.
But let's listen. Let me know when you want to stop. It might be quite a few places. It's about 8 minutes that we're gonna cover here.
Israel is completely destroyed. In an interview with Lebanese television, the official warned Hamas would replicate those horrific attacks, stating, quote, Israel is a country that has no place on our land. So, Congressman, there you have it. For people calling for a ceasefire, this is what the Israelis are up against.
Yeah, that's exactly right. By the way, I hear...
Now, you notice how he misses the part where he says, you have no place on our land. Yeah. So, and when people, you notice when they say Israel has a right to exist, they are saying an incomplete sentence on purpose, Nick. Israel has a right. Always say, it exists where? Finish your sentence. You mean exist in Palestine? No, you don't have a right to exist there. Yeah. Do you have a right to be in existence? I guess. But to you to say you have a right to be at somebody else's house is absurd. Is absurd. But let me, I don't want to sidetrack. Let me play this here.
About the UN saying a lot about this. Where's the UN been in Ukraine? Where have they been in talking about the Russian attacks in Syria? The Russians repeatedly hitting hospitals there. Look, I hear people say that Israel's indiscriminately bombing in Gaza. Listen, indiscriminate bombing by Israel would have about 100,000 dead civilians right now. Obviously, we want no dead civilians in Gaza. But Israel is doing everything they can to be precise. It's Hamas who made it clear.
Nick, he said this after the bombing of the refugee camp. And understand, Adam Kingenzer, or however you say his name, he's on Morning Joe to sell a book. So he'll say whatever he wants to say right now to keep him in the good graces of the Israel lobby as he's trying to sell his book. Because to say the proof is that they're not targeting civilians is because it's not 100,000 people dead is absurd. The proof is when they broke it down in another segment, 70% of the 8,000 people killed by a UN some organization is 70% women and kids. That's a different story. Go ahead.
Once again, Zionists, all they can do is lie. And that's why they're losing the info war. No one's buying this no more. When you say Israel is not discriminately targeting civilians, how many IDF soldiers and spokespeople have you heard thus far that essentially was like, yeah, we consider all Palestinians, everyone there complicit? You had an IDF spokesperson on CNN that literally said, yeah, we are targeting civilians. How many times do Israel have to tell people that they are targeting civilians on purpose as a strategy to get Hamas to the table? For them to acknowledge they are targeting citizens, because that's their strategy. That's the famous clip when Mark Lamont Hill got the IDF guy to admit that.
Yeah.
He said, so essentially you're using civilian population as a hostage to get Hamas to go to the table. That is literally a war crime. That is you targeting civilians. That is what they admitted as a government is their strategy in this war. We're going to kill as many citizens as possible so Hamas will be forced to the table. Then they're going to blame Hamas for it. Like, you guys understand, that the unhinged rationale that they were using, and they're going to continue using this segment, completely justifies Russia. It justifies anyone who commits war crimes on any population. Because if you're the United States and you invade Iraq and you say you're hunting terrorists, if there's any terrorists within a 50-mile vicinity of a school that you've blown up, they apparently justified based on the mindset of Benjamin Netanyahu that he laid out. Benjamin Netanyahu said on TV in front of people that hospitals and civilian targets are legitimate. But then on American corporate news and on UK corporate news, they come on and say, well, Israel not targeting civilians. That's like me. Imagine if I did multiple media appearances and say, I want to seize the means of production. I hate capitalism. I want to destroy the capitalist system. And then someone come out there and say, yeah, I think Nick is friendly to our capitalist system. That is what they saying. The exact opposite of what Israel's statements are. Israel's saying they want to kill as many fucking Palestinians as possible. But let's continue.
They would repeat the attacks of October 7th just now. It's Hamas who is not building bomb shelters that are clearly marked. They're building underground networks so they can move men and materials around to create another attack.
The refugee
By the way,
camp that was hit.
Yeah, I mean, look.
I'm gonna let it play a little bit now. Add to. I'm gonna this completely obliterate that lie. That has never been proven that Hamas has secret tunnels that goes underground in hospitals. Do you guys know why Israel has not destroyed Hamas yet? At least the official spoken reason? Because they didn't know where Hamas was. The whole idea was they don't know where Hamas was. Hamas is in Gaza. They went from not knowing where Hamas is to now they know exactly. They got tunnels in every single hospital. They went from not knowing where Hamas was to, they got tunnel systems on 5th Avenue right there. They have no idea what they're talking about. But they just repeat this on the corporate channels and they don't get demonetized. There is no evidence. In fact, I'm going to dig this video because Hotspot posted this video of a doctor that worked at one of these hospitals that Israel claimed is hiding Hamas. He's like, bro, if I worked this hospital for 20 fucking years, I would know if there was a secret terrorist cell operating. And remember, their claim is that Hamas control these areas. So if you work at these hospitals, you know about it. You got to check in with Hamas. Right. You have IDs that Hamas check. This doctor's like, bro, at no point did I have any IDs checked. I had anyone ever check into me that was part of Hamas. And there's been multiple doctors. That's just one video, but there have been multiple doctors that worked at the hospital that said the idea that these are terrorist hubs is absurd. I think that's my debunking. I'll let it play. I think you guys are smart enough to understand why that's fucking ridiculous. And they repeat it as fact. As fact.
It's do you put stuff in a refugee camp? Do you put military materials? Do you hide your high value targets? It's a terrible situation. But living in a densely populated area does not grant sanctuary to a terrorist organization.
Donnie, we don't want to amplify that entire interview with the Hamas.
So international law is
fake. If you watch it, it's not.
So he just said international law is fake. I'll let it continue. That's essentially what he said. It's not real.
Shocking.
We can do whatever
exactly
we want.
How they feel, but to hear him say it so explicitly that said we will do this again and again, and just saying out loud, our goal, let's be clear here, is to destroy Israel.
And you guys have
which
been
is their legal right to do. And I'll be real quick, but I explained this in many segments before. You notice how they're not quoting any law here? You notice how their entire political analysis is based on their fees? How they feeling? International law dictates that Hamas and any Palestinian have the right to armed resistance against the criminal, illegal apartheid occupiers. They are not mentioning this on this segment. And you know how many segments, and I'm almost saying this out of general frustration, right? Out of all the segments I watch, CJ, you know how many lawyers they bring on? You know, people who job to interpret the law, to speak about the law, and none of them quote international law?
They don't never talk
had
about
viral tweets about this, viral videos and hotspots about this, and not one person has been able to rebuke my claim that Hamas is the only party acting in legal accord here. Israel is the terrorist state, but I'll let it continue. I'll shut up for a while because this is hard to get through. I'll shut up.
I told you it's hard. It's
somehow
hard.
is graded differently.
Yep.
That there's no other country, there's no other people in the world who were attacked, beheaded, raped, massacred, mutilated, yet they have to use restraint. And it attaches to this. I'm holding up the post of somebody ripping
Doesn't that
off
argument
posters
apply
of
to the
hostages there.
Palestinians? Let continue. I'll get to
Not
that later.
apparently not.
Because
And
he said
somehow
what Israel
even
was
in the
doing.
wake,
Essentially, what he said, what Hamas did was so bad that Israel is not allowed to show restraint. He like, you guys want them to show restraint despite the fact that they did all these lies. They beheaded babies and all this other bullshit that we lied about. So, based on their logic, Palestinians can do whatever the fuck they want to Israel after the apartheid criminal state that they put them in.
They're like, no. It only goes one way, and that's the white way. Only one way, sir. No, that's basically what they
all right, I promise I'm done. Like, I promise. Jesus Christ, I promise. Like, it's horrible.
of a Hamas leader saying, we're going to come again and again and destroy you. Yet Israel always seems to be on trial. Israel always seems to be defending themselves for defending themselves.
The double standard applies college campuses so much. You're a Jew at Harvard. You can't even walk across your own campus without being surrounded and attacked. You have students at Penn that you've shown
I can't even believe
celebrating the raping of women, the slaughtering of babies, the burning of, if that had happened and people were celebrating violence, think about, I want everybody at home to think about this. Any group on college campuses that, by the way, administrators have bubble wrapped everybody over the past 10 years with speech codes and safe spaces. Where are the safe spaces for the Jews? You know what? Jews don't have safe spaces, and they're not asking for them.
This is
But they should be able to walk across the campus without being assaulted by fellow students. And any other students that attacked students the way Jews are being attacked, they would be expelled in a second.
Somehow.
Expelled in a second.
Somehow, it's okay to go after Jews. It's okay. Somehow, through history, it just cheering. People are cheering, and Jews are being slaughtered. And it is the level, you guys have covered this all week, the level of anti-Semitism, the level of hate towards Jews from the beginning of time to today. It's mind-numbing. If this, to Joe, to your point, if this happened to any other group, we showed a video, we were talking just now of
I can't
a
even believe
woman,
it.
I don't know if you're going to play it, a woman cheering. It was in Philly last night, our greatest moment. A student, our greatest moment. If this was any other group, there would be outrage.
By
and
the
yet the
way,
media, other than this place and Nicole Show and a few other places, is silent, doesn't freaking cover it.
And she says,
She felt empowered.
I
by what
know
happened.
that when you saw women being raped, so they were bleeding in their pants, when you saw babies beheaded, all these things, when you saw these images, she said, I know you felt empowered. Now, if that were said, let us go back.
Student had you.
Let us go back to Charlottesville.
Listen to the.
I
He's going to bring
guarantee
black
you,
people in
if the
this.
administration
This is
and that
crazy.
mob saw any students, sure, they'd have been expelled in a second.
Or at UVA.
And yet
At
Israel,
UVA, they would have been expelled in a second. People who worked, Caddy, people who worked. who were
Caddy's
seen in
about
that
to bring
crowd,
this home.
fired. But
There's no way
Now,
you get worse.
Ca-
There's no way.
Caddy is the one, and I've said this before. Caddy comes in with an international feel that sometimes, Nick, doesn't mesh with the propaganda line that they're talking about. So let's listen and see if Caddy does that here also.
You have people openly saying they feel empowered by the raping of Jewish women. They feel
Nobody
empowered
is
by the
saying these
images
things that they're
of
talking
children
about.
No
being
one
shot in
believes
front
that.
of their
Do
parents
anyone
and
believe
parents.
that?
They just, where do they get these stories from? Like, I can show you 1,700 videos of Palestinians being fucked with in Palestine, but where are these footage of these things
I can
they're
show
saying
you
is
footage
happening?
of-
Where is it?
I can show you footage of pro-Palestinian protesters being attacked by Zionists. What they were saying is just flat out like how are they able to post this on YouTube? Like if there was we know why. We know the answer to that question by asking rhetorically, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we posted a video with us just saying outright lies like this, our channel will be gone tomorrow afternoon. Like, they just making up scenarios. This is just pure political fan fiction that they're writing here. This is
let's
peak insanity. But let's continue.
Yeah, let's listen to Katie. Listen to this.
It's being shot in front of their children. The videos are out there. They have exposed themselves. And yet, if you do unto them what universities would do unto any other group, oh, then it's a violation of the First Amendment.
So I think here, as in, and I'm watching this in Europe too, we have a generation of kids, of students today who, and I've spoken to many of them over the last couple of weeks, feel much further removed from the events of the Holocaust than my generation does. You know, my parents lived through it. So they were, of course, not Holocaust survivors, but they lived through the Second World War, and it felt intensely personal. And I'm struck, speaking to students in the United States at the moment, how little they feel that, how little they feel that the Holocaust still resonates with them. It feels like a historical event that happened in another time and couldn't possibly happen again. And students I have spoken to over the last couple of weeks are much more focused on what is happening in Gaza and the killings of Palestinians there. And you see it reflected in the polls. This is a real problem for the White House and for Joe Biden, because his numbers amongst young Americans are going down rapidly, and they are young Americans. You know, they're not, whatever, 59% of Americans now under the age of 30 don't support America giving weapons and military support to Israel at the moment. And that is at the moment when Israel has been attacked.
59% under 30 says no to this giving weapons, and that's under it. She's making the point to say this is with them under attack, to say that would mean, logically speaking, if they weren't under attack, that number would be a lot higher than even 59%, which they already think is way too high. And when you saw that pan shot, when you saw all of the people in that Brady Bunch shot, they were devastated. They can't understand, how did our youth, this is how they describe it, who's teaching them? Like Joe Scarborough's going to even mention that. Like, who are these people that's teaching our students? They can't understand why we haven't fought for this. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, he about to sound like Ron DeSantis and saying that the school teachers and critical race theory teaching people to hate.
That's exactly what they're saying.
He's not going to say it like that, because that's the right wing way of saying it, right? But he's going to use the liberal version, that making our point that both sides use the same rhetoric and have the same general beliefs. But one thing I want to quickly note, just to show you guys how the corporate media hacks lack humanity. They only care about the outcome of the red-blue game. You notice how Katty K doesn't say it's a tragedy that Biden is supporting a genocide of the Palestinian people, right? She said it's a tragedy that young people are leaving the Democratic Party,
right, because
Biden is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. These are things that my mind doesn't miss. Like, it shows their bias so much, because I am extremely biased as a commentator, right? Because I'm the kind of guy that will, my commentary would be like, fuck Joe Biden, he's helping commit a genocide. But their commentary is, why won't kids support Joe Biden while he's supporting the genocide? It's so fucking weird to me.
It's weird.
It doesn't make sense.
Looking at the same thing, completely different prism. All right, let me play like a 2 minute straight, and then one last comment, then I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, 2 minutes straight, then we'll close this.
And I think you're seeing it's a shift in this country, that what has happened in the Middle East has laid bare in ways that are incredibly uncomfortable and hard to grapple with. But it's not just here. It's a generational shift that's happening in Europe as well. But I am surprised by the degree to which it's happening here, and the tensions that it's producing on campuses, you know, from a war far away, and how it's spilling over here.
And the lack of reaction is stunning. I mean, I'm surprised.
I just want to say one more thing.
In so many different ways.
It's a very personal thing, because not only am I part of the show, I'm a viewer, and I watch you guys every morning. And as a Jewish man, and we're all friends here, the way you guys have come forward and spoken about Jews and about anti-Semitism, I cannot tell you how much it means to myself and to other Jewish people. This show has been a bastion of honesty, of clarity, of bravery. I'm so proud to be associated with you.
Well,
guys.
you know, it's really pretty simple, isn't it?
This is the part I want you to hear before I want to make sure it includes right here.
We spoke
He's going to
out
bring in black
clearly.
people.
After the killing of other Black Americans, we speak out clearly. It's pretty simple. That's how I was raised. You fight and protect and defend those who are preyed upon. It doesn't matter who, and whether it is a Black teenager who is stopped by a police officer for driving while Black, or whether it's a Jew being harassed on a college campus, fearing for his or her safety. I'm sorry, that's how I was raised. That's how.
So apparently, Joe Scarborough said that's how I was raised. I was raised to be Malcolm X as a youth, and now I'm raised to fight for damn Zionism now. Apparently, Nick, he has been fighting alongside Malcolm X and everybody else, Nick, apparently.
These motherfuckers are millions, man. Like, bro, did you just change your backstory on live, bro? Did you just change your origin story? Bro, do you forget the premise of the show? The whole premise of the show is that Joe was an old Republican who's doing commentary with more liberal style anchors. Like, that's Morning Joe. That's the point of the show is you a Republican who changed your mind and you having dialogue with liberals, you newly formed. He went from that. Now you now Joe's retconning himself. He's retconning himself into Malcolm X. He was a Republican in Congress in the 90s. He was part of the far right coalition with Newt Gingrich. He used to talk about this all the time. Now all of a sudden, man, I was back in the street. I still was back in the brothers when they were struggling. I was there with Rodney King when they was marching. Like, bro, are you serious?
That's hilarious. That was hilarious.
That whole segment.
You got to go back and watch it because of time, and I got to go. That's because this is probably another 3 minutes. It's not that much more.
No, I think it's really just for itself, CJ. I think
it's like they just go on and on with this victimization. It is just crazy. Now, let's just say there's really a lot of real anti-Semitism going on. But if you're against Palestinians who are Semitic, that makes you anti-Semitic. So CJ, it's almost like the very people who are calling people anti-Semitic, you are, especially the Israelis. You came from Russia. You came here, and now look what you're doing to the Palestinian people who are Semitic.
Probably one of the most anti-Semitic things you can possibly do. They conflated the support with Israel to your support with Jewish people. Mm-hmm. But there are Jewish people who are anti-Zionist. So there's a panel, and I know Joe and Mika are Christians at least. It seems like Donny Deutsh might be. It seemed like he was Jewish based on the end. But you have Christians that are telling Jewish people who are against Zionism that they are anti-Semitic. Zionism is the height of anti-Semitism. And one last thing I say regarding the segment is it's funny because you've seen quite a few of these liberal Zionists say this. They're like, man, we was with you, Black America. We marched with you, George Floyd. I put Black Lives Matter in my profile pic. You told me I did that for no reason. And they essentially saying, because I virtue signaled over these racial issues that my policy don't support, that you should allow me to commit genocide.
That's exactly what.
And they don't understand why we, as revolutionary Black out, and every single young Black motherfucker in this country, are like, fuck you. You pretending to be on my side does not give you a fucking permission to like. We got N-word pads. They get genocide pads. I'm not for George Floyd. We can't get one genocide in us. You can't let us get one genocide. And I was marching with George Floyd. You guys think how this shit works? That's
literally how they work. They think, Nick, but that's some good final thoughts. I'm out of here. I'll be watching your segment, and we'll talk. I think we might have another Nick and CJ tomorrow, but we'll talk, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't planning on doing this segment, but actually a great segment to do after the one we just did.